Greetings. This is Amy Wentley with Chai Knuckles Knitting, and this is episode 2018-7, dropping down to fix lace mistakes. I'm currently teaching a class at the Hillsborough Yarn Shop featuring the Hitofude cardigan, which is a beautiful lace cardigan, and I'm making this video for my students to show how they can drop down stitches in an isolated section of their cardigan to fix a mistake and build it back up again. This is a replica of the pattern we use for Hitofude, and you'll see there's a nice line of knit two togethers and yarn overs on this side. Same thing on this side, nice set of yarn overs and knit two or slip knits on that side. But somehow on this swatch that I have for this demo, I've made some big mistakes. In this section here, doesn't look at all like it's supposed to be. But I can see that it's isolated to those 10 stitches, so I'm fine with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop those 10 stitches down and rebuild this up. So in order to do that, you're going to need some things. You'll need a set of double pointed needles the same size as your project needles. So even if you've been working your project on a circular needle, you're going to need to have a set of double pointed needles that you can use to build up this section here and to knit with. Preferably you've put lifelines in your knitting. That helps to drop down to that particular lifeline here in red so that you can put your stitches on a needle and build up again. I have a video on how to thread a lifeline, so check out my blog, you can find it there. You'll also need some stitch stoppers, those little things, to put on the ends of your needles. And you'll need a claw clip, and that helps hold some of your yarn out of the way. So here's what we're going to do to get started on this. You're going to isolate the 10 stitches that you want to drop down, and the 10 stitches I have here are 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a good idea to stick some stitch markers around those stitches so that you know exactly which ones you're going to be letting go. Okay, so we're going to put a stitch marker on here, and we've picked out those 10 stitches. So when I say isolate, what I want you to do is I want you to move the other stitches that aren't affected by this process over onto your working needles and put some stoppers around them, because one of the worst things to do is to be fixing mistakes and dropping a bunch of needles off your project and making other mistakes. So we want to make sure these are safe. We can take that marker off, and we're going to slip these 10 stitches off the needle, completely off the needle, and we're going to go ahead and put a set of markers on the other end of the needles. If you have, of course, a circular needle, you only have to stop up the one end. But we're fine. So here we are, and I actually accidentally put my stitch marker through one of these stitches. It's a good thing to check, double check. Okay, there we go. So these are the 10 stitches I want to drop down. I'll just lay this marker aside for right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down all these stitches to the lifeline, and I want to try to do it in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. 8 is my bottom strand, and I'm going to put my bottom strand down a little bit here. I want to take these 7 top strands and I want to clamp them, and I want to keep them out of the way. There they go, nice and safe. This is my 8th strand. Then what I want to do is I want to thread the stitches that are on my lifeline onto a double pointed needle. If you didn't put lifelines in, it is possible for you to weave a double pointed needle below the error and then drop down to a double pointed needle, but it's just a lot more convenient if you have had the lifeline in there. Let's see, we have enough stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Good. That's our 10 stitches on our double pointed needle that we got off the lifeline. And what we're going to do is we're going to knit these up from the bottom using these strands of thread. One thing I do want to point out is you are working on the right side, so you're going to be doing all your work from the right to the left, and that means you're going to read your lace charts from the right to the left also, just for this fixing process. So the first row, and I've shown this section of the chart in blue that we're fixing. We're going to start with row 1. In row 1, we're going to take a DPN and we're going to knit off this needle. If your whole project was on circular needles, that's what these guys would be. This is the DPN that we're working on right now. And you were going to use strand 8, which is free here, to knit with. I knit continental, so I hold this in my left hand. If you knit English, you can hold it in your right hand. As you get towards the end, you're going to start to run out of yarn, and also these edge stitches are going to be a little strange, and we can fix those later, so don't worry about it. We'll see how this goes. So we're going to start with a yarn over, and this is going to be a slip, yank, twist, and knit 2 together. I cover this technique for doing an SSK in another video on my blog. Please check it out. And I'm going to knit 3. Whoops, I got stuck there. Look at that. Just hunted that out. There we go. This is why you secure your stitches on your needles. Okay, so that was 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, and then knit 2 together. So those 2, and the string gets really short when you get here. And I'm going to do a yarn over, which is just lifting that piece of yarn over the needle. So there we go. So that's the first row done. If we look at the second row, and we're going to be reading from right to left because we're on the front side. We're not turning this over and purling on the back. We are knitting on the front. So we're going to knit 10 stitches for the next row. And we get the next piece of yarn in our sequence here. And you can tell by going to the very edge stitch which one this is going to be. So that's the next strand. And the next row is going to be completely knit. Okay, so if I was doing this English style knitting with my right hand, it would look like this. So 1, whoops, sorry about that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, changing to continental, 8, 9, and then 10. Last little bit, it's always tricky. Okay, there we go. So that's row 2. Row 3 will be a knit 1, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, 1, 2, 3, 4, knit 2 together, yarn over, knit 1. So I'm going to find my strand again, the next one down, which will be this one, clamp the rest of them. Okay, so knit 1, yarn over, slip, yank, twist, knit, 1, 2, 3, 4, knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit 1. Okay, you'll see the stitches on the edge are looking really big and kind of sloppy. Don't worry about it, we're going to fix those later. The next row is going to be straight knitting again. This is row 4. Straight knitting. Here we go. Yep. Oops. Let me just double check to see if I'm using the right string here. What you want to do is look to see where the yarn's coming out in the back. That's this one. Here we go. Okay, there we go. So this is row 4. This is straight knitting across. One. Come on, babe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And row 5 is next. Row 5 is going to be knit 2, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 2, knit 2 together, and then yarn over, knit, knit. Okie dokie. So here we go. Knit 2. Yarn over, slip, slip, knit. This is slip, yank, twist, knit. Knit 2. Knit 2 together. Yarn over, knit 2. And 2. There you go. That's row 5. Row 6 is straight knitting again. Row 6, straight knitting. Whoops, got wrapped around my needle. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and in this last row I'll show you, I'll switch to English again for those of you who might like to see that. I will do the next row, so this will be row 7, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, yarn over, slip, slip, knit, knit 2 together, yarn over, 1, 2, 3, and I'll do this English so y'all can see that. So this is going to be where I didn't put the clip. Okay, let me see which one this is. It's the bottom one. You should always put the clip back on so you don't get confused by this. I'm sorry I didn't do that. Let's put the clip on 8 there. Okay, so, and I'm going to do this English, I promised you. So this is 1, 2, 3, yarn over, slip, yank, twist, knit, pull through, knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit, 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 and the last row will be straight across knitting, and then we'll show you what we've got. And I'll do this English for you also. 1, 1, split. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so there you go. You'll notice the stitches on the left here are very sloppy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything back on my needles so that they're nice and secure again and in the right order and everything. So here we go. We're going to get these 10 stitches back on the project needle and off our DPNs that we used. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, and I want to put the first 5 stitches on the needle also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so everybody's on the needle now. I'm going to go ahead and put a stopper here just to make sure nothing falls off again. And I'm going to want to manipulate these stitches a little bit. So if you see here, the stitches all along the right here are very loose. So I just want to go through one at a time and kind of follow the path and help kind of redistribute how these stitches are going across. And as I redistribute, I just, you know, carry a little bit of looseness along with me and sort of stretch that out. And I just keep doing this across my piece, tightening up stitches a little bit, partially the way over, and they'll kind of all even out. And the other thing too is when you block this, it's going to look a lot better too. So try to redistribute some of the stitches like this to get things back to looking a little prettier. And as you see, I've corrected the pattern. I've got my yarn overs here all in a row, my yarn overs here all in a row, my slip slip knits, my knit two togethers, and I rebuilt that whole section to now be correct. So that is how we rebuild stitches that we drop down in lace knitting. You can also use this technique to isolate stitches for a cable and pick up a cable and recross one if you've miscrossed a cable. And I've used similar technique just to fix any kind of knitting I'm doing if I notice that I made an error, you know, a few rows down, and I can isolate those stitches. So that's the technique, and I thank you for being with me today, and we'll have more videos to come. Thank you. Bye-bye.